Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 10 of 2026. I'm your host, Kiev, and you can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you'd like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any. For winning cappers, get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Odds Breakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. We have a great show for you today. Matt Youmans from VSiN is back to break down a massive weekend of college basketball. Matt is a excellent handicapper and one of the top dogs over at VSiN. So I really cannot wait to get him on and discuss a wonderful weekend of sports and maybe a little Super Bowl as well. Before Matt comes on, just want to remind you guys to use the promo code basketball26 to become a member. $100 off any membership package for the rest of the season. You can also check us out on patreon.com. Get our podcast with no commercials and get in a little bit early before it gets released. So, to start out the show, always ATS, right? Always talking some ATS, trying to figure out who is cashing and who is donating to those who are cashing. Portland State back at first, 12-2-1. This crazy-ass record that they have right now against the spread. You got to give them a lot of props. They barely beat Idaho, 69-66, but just enough to cover the line. Funny, they're only plus 2.7 ATS margin, so there you have it. Mercer and Sam Houston, 15-3. Sam Houston keeps chucking. I almost bet them yesterday. I'm mad I didn't. Stephen F. Austin, 15-4. Then some 13-5s with Miami, Ohio, who's due to lose. William & Mary, 13-5. DePaul, Eastern Michigan, 14-6. Some of the bigger names: Illinois, 13-7. Iowa, 13-7. Nebraska, 13-7-1. Villanova, 13-7. The worst teams covering are Loyola Chicago, who just went through a gauntlet of injuries. We faded them a couple times the last few games. 5-17 ATS. We only have Texas Southern at 4-13, Marquette 5-16, a few 5-14s, Kansas City, UTSA and Florida Gulf Coast. You have 16-15 Oregon, who's been decimated by injuries. You have East Carolina, James Madison, and Georgetown 6-14, Western Carolina 5-12. Some of the bigger names scrolling on up: Ole Miss 7-13, Ole Miss the spread, Tennessee 7-12-1. Was a very strange game with them against Georgia that went overtime. Baylor 7-12. What happened to Baylor the last few years? Kentucky 8-13, not so good. Missouri 8-13. Let's go to totals. We have the top overs teams first. Denver 7-12-1. Miami, Ohio 14-4. St. Bonaventure 15-5. Northeastern 15-5. Utah 15-5. Tulsa 14-5. Monroe 14-5. Some of the bigger names: Providence 15-6. Kent State 13-6. Kind of a bigger name, I guess. Miami 13-6-1. And Maryland 13-7 that has no defense. Even Tennessee's 13-7. You had that overtime yesterday. Thank you for that. That doesn't happen a lot. To me, anyway. What about Fordham? The low ATS, 4-14. Jumped on them yesterday. They ended up under. It's trailing over the whole time. I was happy about that. 4-13 and 4-13 for Hawaii and UT Arlington. Cincinnati 5-16. Canisius 5-14. Delaware State 4-11. some 5-13s in Ryder and Bryant. Then you got Nebraska 5-15, 6-15, Michigan State 6-15, and Michigan State, huge game coming up. Kansas 6-14. So those are your big unders teams, and I already mentioned some big names there, so don't need to go into that. Wanted to mention for the year, it seems like the markets, books, whatever you want to call it, has been very on. Usually there's something over 52%, but away teams 51.2% at 1,814 to 1,730 and 0. I kind of said that bad. 1,814 games that they won ATS and lost 1,730. So believe it or not, away teams are covering a little bit more. Home teams 48%, 48.8%. Favorites 48.7%. Dogs 51.3%. Away favorites 49.8%. Away dogs 51.7%. Home favorites 48.3%, and home dogs only 50.2%. So these are just very close to 50. It kind of shows you that the books should be doing okay when it comes to putting these lines out, and a lot of balance. I know there's always line moves, but there's nothing that's crazy there. There's no home dog outlier out there. So really interesting. Totals, non-overtime games, the overs are only 47.3% and the unders are 52.7%. All right. Well, that's kind of your trends going into.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of that together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/prevent. Protect yourself now at aura.com/prevent.
College basketball last week of January. Let's bring in our wonderful guest, Mr. Matt Youmans from VSiN. Now I am very excited to welcome back a college basketball expert, as well as the editor and host of the Vegas Sports and Information Network, and Mr. Matt Youmans from VSiN.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at MattYoumans247. Matt, we are in the dead of winter. It's actually pretty lively around our parts. How you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like winter. Actually, the weather's starting to warm up in Vegas, and I'm going to head to San Diego this weekend for the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines, and I see it's going to be 80 degrees on Saturday, so look forward to that. While the East Coast gets buried in another polar vortex of a snowstorm, this is why we live on the West Coast.
Matt, I feel like every time I have you on, you're going to San Diego that weekend. It's either for Del Mar or something fun, but it's like about time you might have to get another place down there or something.
No, I don't want to live in California.
Yeah.
Taxes.
Yeah, taxes.
That's not an advantage play. Let's put it that way. Even I like to go down there for weekends here and there
Sure.
to the racetrack, Padres games, San Diego State, or golf tournaments like this. Much rather live in Las Vegas.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed, my friend. I wouldn't even like renting things out there either. But hey, my man, we have a Super Bowl. Real quick, I want to ask you: are you surprised to see these two teams face off in Super Bowl 60?
Not that surprised. I guess as the season developed, you could kind of see that this was going to be a possibility. I did bet the Patriots to win the AFC East before the season. I thought they were going to be a sleeper team. I love the Mike Vrabel hire. And that looked to be a defense was going to be strong. Drake May, up-and-coming quarterback with a couple more weapons around him. I didn't think the Patriots were going to be a Super Bowl team, but I thought they would be one of the better teams in the AFC. You know, when you project the AFC back in August, you're thinking about Chiefs, Ravens, right? Maybe even Joe Burrow being a factor, and some other teams. You're not really thinking, well, I should bet the Patriots to be a Super Bowl team. But the way the AFC fell apart, it fell apart perfectly for the Patriots. And Broncos were another team I liked. I bet them to win the AFC West, but I didn't necessarily think the Broncos were going to be a Super Bowl team. You know, it's just you see those great quarterbacks and other teams you have power rated higher at the top of the AFC, and you don't think that the Patriots or the Broncos are going to be the team out of the AFC. I had a 30-1 ticket on the Rams to win the NFC, actually to win the Super Bowl, and that was my pick to win the NFC. And Rams came up short in Seattle twice in the past month, and that's kind of painful. But Mike McDonald's a hell of a coach, man. You're watching right now in the NFL coaching carousel. A bunch of guys get hired, and right away you can see some of these hires are not going to work out. Right? It's not going to work out for Todd Monken in Cleveland, Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh, Jeff Hafley in Miami. I don't think any of those are going to come back to haunt me as a freezing cold take. I'm not concerned about that. I'd say those three coaching hires are not going to get those teams over the hump. The Mike McDonald hire a couple of years ago I did like quite a bit. I thought he was going to be a rising coaching star, so I can't say I'm stunned that the Seahawks are here, but I did not think they would be here because I really didn't think Sam Darnold could get him there. And, well, he played probably the best game of his career last week against the Rams, so you got to give him credit for that. He's got to do it one more time.
Yeah.
You know, it's how about the biggest losers would be the Atlanta Falcons? 2 years ago they had an opening, and they they interviewed Mike Vrabel and Mike McDonald, and they hired Raheem Morris.
He's still there, ain't he?
He just got fired.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was right. There's just so many fire. You know, the only one that should have been fired that wasn't is Zach Taylor, in my opinion. I don't know why they keep him around. I think he's holding Burrow back. But it was weird to see Harbaugh fired before him. But I understand that him and Lamar just don't gel. And you know what? Give them both a new place or new situation for Lamar. We'll see what the problem was out there. I'm starting to think it was maybe more on the Lamar side, but you know, we'll see, and we'll see when those season win totals come up. We can talk forever about those terrible hires that you mentioned because I agree 100%. I don't know how the hell Rodgers is going to deal with McCarthy again if he's even thinking about coming back, but that's for another time. We have college basketball to talk about, and that's what we love. And it's not early for me and you. I mean, it's almost the end of January. We're only a month away from March Madness here. But I always like to ask about buy low, sell high, just to see if there's something that you're looking at in the future here, kind of see a trend on a team. Buy low, I'll just throw one out there. I got Clemson. I think that they have decent size. I think they have a good defense, a very good defense. They're just the threes aren't falling for them, and I think they will. I like Brad Brunell. I think they have a very easy schedule coming up after this. Just no really top 50 teams in the KenPom. I think I'm going to be. I could see myself on Clemson in the near future.
I've always liked Brad Brownell. Really good coach, underrated coach, and I don't disagree with that play. So you want me to give you a buy low or a sell high pick?
Whatever you want first.
I'm going to go buy low first, and I'm going to go St. John's. And somebody might say, wait a minute, St. John's was a top 10 team. If you look at the Circa Futures board today, St. John's is at 90-1. And this was a team that was around 15 to 20-1 for a long time. Obviously, Johnny's lost some games, and people got down on him, jumped off the bandwagon. Rick Pitino doesn't have a true point guard. This team was a big disappointment. But they're starting to get things together. And, hey, look, Pitino can figure out a way to put the puzzle pieces together. So I'm not saying that St. John's going to be in the national championship game, but this is a team that could be a contender if things break right for the Final Four, and you got 90-1 in your pocket. You're going to like that. So let's say buy low on a St. John's team that was once high in the market and has now slipped all the way almost down to triple digits.
Dude, they're 22-1 to make the Final Four. I mean, that's very hedgeable if they get to the Sweet 16 and after. I'm looking at that one. I like that call. St. John's is a fantastic program with Pitino there, and he's a championship-proven coach. So I love your buy low. How about a sell high?
I don't have a strong one here, but if I would have said this 2 weeks ago if I talked to you on this show. Purdue was a sell high for me, and I tried to caution people, early in the season, be careful with this Purdue team because they don't have any NBA-type athletes. So I'm not sure. It still can be a great college team, but when you don't have NBA talent, that makes it tough to advance too far in the tournament. And that was my biggest concern with this team. Also, the defense has really slipped, and it's not an elite defensive team. You do have Braden Smith, still one of the best point guards in the country, but guys around him are not making shots. He's setting guys up. If you've been watching these games, he's setting guys up for open threes, and they're breaking the threes. And so Purdue has gone from, I think, around 8-1 to now 20-1 at Circa. And Dustin Sweetelson of BCN asked me 2 weeks ago, I'm thinking about betting Purdue. What do you think? And I said, don't do it. I see way too many flaws in this team. Now, I also caution all the time against overreacting because team loses 2 or 3 games and, January, February, a lot of people want to give up on the team. And you remember 3 years ago before Danny Hurley won his first championship at UConn, in late January, UConn lost 3 games in a row. And I think at that point, the Huskies were ranked number 2. They were somewhere in the top 5. They dropped 3 in a row, and 4 out of 5 they lost, and everybody jumped off the bandwagon. That team came back in March and won and covered 6 straight to win his first championship. So you don't want to overreact, but I'm going to say sell high on Purdue, which was a preseason number 1 team.
Trey Kaufman-Wren disappointed me. He's soft down low. He tries to finesse too much, can't bang, and you need some guys at the Big Ten, especially if you play an SEC team in the tournament, to bang. And he's not. They can't do that, and I agree. And I wish you sent me that text not to bang, because I did back them a couple times and got smoked on them, especially the Illinois game, dude. I had -2.5. I did buy back a little on Illinois at 6.5, but I ended up losing because I didn't buy back enough. And, I just thought that was a perfect bounce back spot, but you were absolutely right. I'm going to sell St. Louis. Top 25 on KenPom. Seriously, their best win's Santa Clara. And you know what? They don't have a great schedule after this, but I like Robbie Avila, but man, he can be slowed down when he bangs with some other big guys too. And he's going to face a few coming up. He's got a tough game against Dayton coming up on which there'll be a double-digit favorite. And I'm not a big Dayton guy, but, Dayton's on the bounce. I don't know. We'll see what the line is. But, I'm going to sell high in St. Louis coming in the next week or two and possibly in the future after that. So that's mine. And, just when they get overvalued on KenPom because they're beating up a bunch of bad teams, a bunch of cupcakes, that's kind of when I like to jump in. Let's get into our plays, or at least leans, whatever we decide. We texted before this, and this game's awesome, man. I mean, this might be the best game of the weekend, and it's on Friday night, almost like a standalone situation. And I tell you, man, I want to make sure that I'm back from my son's football game to watch at least the second half of this. But Michigan is playing Michigan State, and what's funny is some of the lines came out already on this one. It was out this morning on DraftKings and FanDuel, and it was Michigan State was minus 1.5, now plus 1.5, minus 120. That's what they're at, and the total was about 145.5, kind of in the predictable range. But man, no matter what you do, you got to watch this game. What are your thoughts on it?
Did you just say you're coming back from your son's football game?
Yes, they play flag football on Fridays. Oh. It's under the lights flag football, and it's I'm a busy man between baseball and football.
Yes, football season stretches into January, February in Arizona. Nice.
Yeah.
So I had heard that the look ahead on DraftKings. Somebody texted me yesterday and said it was Michigan minus 1.5. You say it's Michigan State minus 1.5?
No, Michigan State, I might have misspoke. They're plus 1.5, but the juice is minus 120.
Oh, okay.
So this is really close to pick 'em. I mean, so you can go with either way. If you want to go with money line, Michigan State's minus 102, but whatever you think. It's going to move anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be a live betting game, too. I'm not going to bet a lot pregame because I'm going to live bet this game. Anytime you have a line around pick -1, there's typically not a big advantage to betting it pregame because if you follow live betting like we do on VSiN Primetime every night, if you wait 5 minutes, you're going to get a better number. All right, so I'm not going to go crazy betting this pregame, but I like Michigan State here, and I've been betting against Michigan and Purdue, like I mentioned, consistently for the last 2 or 3 weeks. You realize that those two teams are a combined 0-14 against the spread in their last 14 games.
Oh.
Wolverines and Boilermakers, and I'd probably bet against both those teams a combined, 8 or 9 or 10 times of those 14. I know I bet against Purdue 7 times. I bet against Michigan 3 or 4 times, I guess, so but at least 10 times. But it's funny because in late November through the end of December, Michigan was like the 96 Chicago Bulls. They were beating teams by 30 and 40 points routinely, and then all of a sudden they had that scare at Penn State. And the Wolverines barely survived the last possession. Penn State ran a pitiful offensive set, threw up a wild shot down 2, and Michigan survived, and then got beat at home by Wisconsin. Yeah. And that was a whiskey team that had just gotten pounded by Purdue in Madison. I think Purdue was up 25 in the second half. And I was like, oh, man, maybe whiskey's not that good. Maybe I overrated this team. And then the Badgers go to Ann Arbor and beat Michigan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are kind of head-scratching here.
Yeah.
In college hoops and in the Big Ten. But you got to try to solve the riddle. I would say that Tom Izzo, as a home dog, is always going to be a look for me. And just something's off to this Michigan team. Wolverines are not shooting the ball as well as they did during that hot stretch. Their bigs are not dominating like they did earlier. And the warning signs are there. And Izzo as a home dog is going to be the play for me here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm waiting for 2.5, man. I think we'll get it. It's going to bounce. The book's going to look for some action, more action on this. I like Izzo as the home dog. You know, that I was on Nebraska. Of course, my moneyline sprinkle was hopeful until the last minute. You could have called the foul on Montez there, and I don't know. I'm not saying it's bang bang, but dude, that when Nebraska's shooting 4 free throws the whole game and their other team shooting 23, you got to give that foul to Nebraska. And either way, you know that's the Big Ten. That's what you get, and that's why they have a huge home court advantage in the Big Ten. But I'm still probably going to be on this side. I think Michigan's a little wishy-washy right now, a little bit unmotivated. Flat, I would say this means a lot more to Izzo and Michigan State, and Michigan State can run with this team. I'm afraid of the total, Matt. I could see it going under. I could see it going over. I can see the game pace just getting out of hand. But I'm with you. As soon as this gets better, or like you said live, maybe Michigan comes up, 10-5, something like that. Be a perfect time to jump in on that side. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with Boise State versus Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is probably going to be laying about 2 is what I estimate. The total's 136. Kind of a road revenge spot for Boise State, but man, this team, they won 4 in a row against tomato cans, right? Against Wyoming, against Colorado State, against Air Force, and San Jose State. You know, they lost the 4 right before them to teams like Grand Canyon at home and UNLV. When they lost at home to Grand Canyon, it was by over double digits. Problem with Boise, they're just very inconsistent. They rank 319th on Haslametrics. So you never know what you're going to get completely. But neither team does anything spectacular. They don't do anything terrible. Their stats are very similar in a way. Both teams played a little bit slower of a pace. But last game in Nevada, the Lopes, man, they're out with no guards. Caleb Shaw was out. Brian Moore was out. They're starting guards. And they might be out this game. So I can't just back Grand Canyon. I kind of want to if I knew that they were playing. But I like the under. I think that this is going to be another rock fight type game. And both these teams are just much better on defense from the whole court, not just near proximity, not mid-range, not perimeter. They are better on defense in every aspect than what their opposing offense is going to be. I'm going to take the under 136.
Well, the Lopes got in a rock fight up in Reno a couple of nights ago. How about that game?
Yeah. That still went under. Still went under.
in overtime. I know a friend of mine, David Deneen, who's a former Cal Poly shooting guard, lives up in Reno, very sharp college hoops handicapper. He loves it. He texted me that day, and he said he was betting the under. That was his best bet of the day, and man, that was a best bet. That game stayed under in overtime. That might have stayed under in double overtime. So there you go.
I know I was on a show that night and told people I was sweating it out, but when I looked at what the score was when it went to overtime, I still really wasn't worried.
Right.
5 minutes, you're all right. So, yeah, double overtime, maybe a little bit iffy, but it still went easily under the total. Well, let's get into our Friday night or Saturday night slate because, man, there's just some awesome games, Matt, on Saturday, and I'm very excited. You picked a few good ones. I believe you picked, was it Utah State? Is that one of them? Over San Diego State?
Yeah, Utah State, San Diego State. And I'll tell you, talk about head scratchers. How about the Aggies losing at home to UNLV last week? I mean, that didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Mason Falsett, one of the best players in the Mountain West Conference. This Utah State team can look really, really good some nights, like it did on Wednesday night in the blowout of Wyoming. And then it can look really bad at times, like it did the last week in the loss to UNLV. But if you draw a line through the UNLV game and kind of throw that one out, I think the profile of this Utah State team is really strong. I'm still not a complete believer in the Aztecs. I know that they feel like they got jobbed in that loss at Grand Canyon a week ago when they came to UNLV and took care of business. But, man, this is a UNLV team that's really, really bad on the defensive end of the floor. Low IQ team, poorly coached, at least in terms of X's and O's. They got some athletes, but there's not much there. I think the best teams in the Mountain West are New Mexico and Utah State. And I think the Aggies get this one here. San Diego State blew out Colorado State last night, but I like Utah State in what I think is going to be a home court series. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
San Diego State plays the Aggies in San Diego. Bet the Aztecs. They play up in Logan, Utah. Let's bet the Aggies. I believe this is going to be a CBS national game, and this crowd's going to be off the hook for this. So Utah State with a home court edge, and I'm going to play the Aggies here against the San Diego State team that I think is just a little bit phony, not up to the levels of Brian Dutcher's teams maybe in the past 4 or 5 years or so.
Are you laying it? It's probably going to be, what, 5, 6?
Yeah, I've got this line projected at 4.5 or 5.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the name San Diego State still carries some weight to keep it down a little bit too, So I'm with you. I wrote that down. I'll definitely look at that one. I agree that you did nail the top two teams in the Mountain West this year. Really cool to see Grand Canyon in the Mountain West, though, man. I just wanted to mention that. I'm such a low, but since I've been in Arizona the last 13 years, I've really watching some Lopes, right? So that's been fun. All right, well, we got more games. How about? I got one. We both picked the same one, and we'll get to that. But I'm going to go with NC State versus Wake. And I'm thinking Wake's going to be about +2 at home, a home dog at a total of 155. I'm usually, like you, a home dog guy. I am. But I think I'm going to switch on this one. And you look at the numbers. There's nothing 52% or more when it comes to away favorites, home dogs. I looked at that on covers today, and everything was under 52%, which shows how good the market's doing and really predicting this stuff, which is good for the books usually. But man, this Demon Deacons is bad. They lost 5 of the last 6. Tough overtime one in Pitt is what they're coming off of. They're coming off of an overtime in Pitt. They needed that game. The issue is that they do not play well at home either, Wake Forest, and I looking at home road splits on Haslametrics. They went 333rd at home away splits. They seem to play better when they're not nervous, with their home court there. It's weird. They've been blown out by Oklahoma at home, Miami, SMU, and I'm talking blown out. Will Wade. And go back to what I like to do. I like betting coaches. I think Will Wade is as bad as some of his history has been. He's proven it at McNeese last year. He's a good coach. He's got them humming right now. He has a road win against Clemson, Florida State. They scored 116 against Florida State. I'm laying 2, man. I'm laying 2. If it gets too cute, I might have to go money line, but I would rather lay 2. Don't want to lay 2.5 or 3, but I'm going to go with NC State.
All right, I'm not going to argue, but I've always said that as handicappers, you got to stick to your strongest conferences, and that's when your winning percentage is going to go up. Bet the conferences that you know the best. I don't have a lot of luck in the ACC, so I don't mess with it too much. So I'll agree with your pick there and tell you that I'm not going to be playing that game. I can't figure out Wake. Wake looks good one week.
Yeah. And
crappy the next, but I definitely lean. Your analysis makes sense. I would lean that way. Yeah.
Indiana, UCLA. We both picked this, but I defer it to my guest as always. So I wrote, and it makes me handicap in other games, but that was cool. I wrote -3 for UCLA, and that's. I mean, a lot of them say -1. I think that the market's going to push it to 3, with a total of 145. If you disagree, let me know. But we both picked this game, so. You have first shot.
Wow. I've got a higher number here. I've got UCLA a 5.5 point favorite.
You do? Okay. Well, I'll tell you that Ken Palm.
I don't look at Kim Palm and I don't look at Haslam metrics. I don't want to be influenced by that stuff.
Right.
But I make my own numbers. And then obviously, other people tell me, oh, Kim Palm's got this or whatever. I try not to look at Kim Palm until February. I have not looked at it more than once all season. So I like to make my own numbers, not be influenced by that, but I got this at UCLA 5.5. Kim Palm's got what?
Ken Palm has 2. Bart Torvik has 1.
Wow. I think UCLA is better than that. And this, by the way, this is a good spot for the Bruins, too. They're staying out in the West Coast now. Mick Cronin loves to complain about how much UCLA has to travel, to the Midwest and the East with this Big Ten schedule. He didn't have to join the Big Ten. I know it was a football move, but just stop complaining. Stop whining about the schedule. This is your life now. And by the way, UCLA's got a backloaded schedule where they get to stay on the West Coast a lot more here in the second half of the season, and the second half of the schedule is a lot easier. So it all is going to even out, right? You're going to play 10 home games and 10 road games, so stop whining. But the Bruins were up in Oregon last night, made pretty easy work of a Ducks team that's really shorthanded. Dana Altman is missing pretty much all his key players. He's got kind of 2 guys. I'd say he's got a 2-man team right now. Got 3 of his most important players out. But UCLA is playing better. I was at Pauley Pavilion about a week and a half ago when Tyler Bilodeau hit the shot and UCLA beat Purdue 69-67 in that comeback. And I think this Bruins team's got some upside. It's a really good spot here because Indiana's off a big emotional win against Purdue. That was the night that the football team was honored.
Yeah.
Kurt Cignetti was there. Emotions were off the hook. And now you go off that emotional win, your biggest win of the season by far. And now you go to the West Coast to play UCLA. I think the spot is going to drive this number up a little bit more too. And I like the Bruins here.
Yeah, I thought I was being generous at 3. I guess we'll see. Maybe it is 3.5, 4 or something. Yeah,
I would love to lay 2.5 or 3 if it opens. If it opens there, I'm definitely going to lay that number quickly.
Well, I'll text you tomorrow. Big Ten, not good when crossing 2 time zones in general. That you nailed it. Letdown spot from hell after the Purdue game. UCLA gets 5 of their next 7 games at home. That's kind of nice this time of year, right? California, don't got to go to the Midwest, travel all that. It's perfect for them to make a run. Indiana, home road splits, 344th on Haslam metric. 340. They shoot 59% effective field goal at home, 52 on the road, and much worse defense. UCLA at home, 57% effective field goal. I'm on the Bruins too. Yeah, I'm on them.
Okay.
Hopefully that hits for us. It's going to be one of my main plays. So I'm glad we picked that game. I am for now. We'll see. We'll see how it is on Saturday. All right. Well, you'll like this one: Arizona versus Arizona State. Plus 15. Maybe it's not, but a lot of sites are saying 16. I'm going to say 15-14 probably with a total that's high of 162. And I think Arizona's the best team out there. I do. I think I kind of want to parlay them with a an MVP bet. I'm not sure which one yet, but that way I can get better than 4-1, right? But I'm excited for this game. And rivalry. It's a rivalry. Like I said, I loved how they beat BYU. Of course, at the end, somehow they let them get close. I don't even know how the hell that happened. I turned it off with 2 minutes left and looked at the final score. I'm like, what the hell happened? But Arizona State and Bobby Hurley, nobody knows Tommy Lloyd like him. He knows them more than any other team, in my opinion. They played many times over the years. U of A's won 9 of the last 10 matchups. But ASU did cover the spread the last 2 matchups. ASU went down to Tucson and only lost by like 6 points. Sun Devils, they did have some big wins at home against Cincinnati, Texas, Santa Clara, which, not great, but, I give them some props for that. But we're talking 15 points. They also covered pretty well against Gonzaga, who is, Tommy Lloyd type. Mark Few and Tommy Lloyd, they work together. It's too many points. I'm taking the dog. I'm going to sprinkle the money line, because I'm not going to miss Arizona's first loss in case that happens. So I'm sprinkling the money line, but I'll take 15 all day, and I'll grade it when it comes out.
All right, interesting. I got this number at 12.5, so we'll see where it comes out. But that I was at the Arizona State Texas game. That was in the Maui Invitational, and Mo Odom went to the free throw line a bunch of times that night. I have to look at the box, but I bet you Mo Odom had 18 trips to the free throw line that night for the Sun Devils. I'm not going to say it's a sleepy spot for Arizona, because when it's a rivalry game, it never is. But you're off the big game at BYU, and you got some pretty big games coming up on the Big 12 schedule. You might not have the Arizona team that's fully focused here. Arizona State, I think, can be sneaky good sometimes, but I don't know. I feel like a glutton for punishment, right? I've been betting against Purdue, Arizona, Michigan, some of the better teams in college basketball consistently for the past couple weeks. I did bet BYU the other night, and I bet BYU plus 1.5. But like I was talking about with the live betting, I also played BYU plus 8.5 live. Good. And I thought that was dead. They were down 20. Yeah, I thought the live bet was dead too. And then who knows? It turns into a 1-point game, and BYU's got a shot to win at the end, which was insane. That had some officiating hijinks, on the home court in Provo, and some weird stuff happened at the end of that game. I saw that Charles Barkley said March Madness he's going to call it the Arizona Invitational. So I hate to do that. I hate to see Charles do that to Arizona. That's like a jinx when Barkley says something like that. But Arizona is definitely the number one team, power-rated team right now. Michigan has slipped from that spot in the last 4 weeks or so. So I think this could be a spot where Arizona State hangs in there. Like I said, I got the number at 12.5. Hopefully it opens higher. I might bet that. I might bet the home dog here.
Yeah, I'm going to bet the home dog. And, obviously it gets down to 11, 10, then there would be no play. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be enough people gravitating towards them. I do think it is a sleepy spot just because the rivalry means less to them because they win it all the time than it should in general. Hodgepodge, you mentioned before we got on, there is some massive games this weekend. We got BYU at Kansas. Kansas is probably going to be laying, 5, 6? That's interesting. I take a look. I take a look at BYU. That Peterson kid, man, coming in and out when he wants. I don't like that. You got Texas Tech at UCF. If Texas Tech is going to be a road favorite of 3.5 or more, I'd look at UCF because I just think that Texas Tech plays close games. They play up to their competition, down. Any other hodgepodge or those you're looking at?
By the way, UCF was lucky as hell to beat Arizona State a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
Sun Devils blew that game.
They did.
They should have won that game. So I would agree with your analysis there, too, on the Texas Tech game. And as far as Kansas, I got this at Kansas 4.5. But there's also got a question mark next to it because of Darren Peterson. He has missed, I believe, 10 games this season, and you don't know if he's going to be in or not. He'll probably be in for this game. But is he going to cramp up? Is he not going to be able to finish in the last 10 minutes? I don't know. I think it's actually – I hate to bet against Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. I feel like, Kansas Duke got the top 2 home court advantages in college basketball. It's always tough to bet against those teams at home. but I feel like there's some upside to this BYU team.
Yeah.
And I know they shot the ball really poorly, and they didn't play well in the first 30 minutes of the game against Arizona the other night. But I saw some things I did like. Even though they weren't playing well, that they were hanging in the game, and they do have top-end talent. I'm kind of intrigued by BYU in the spot. I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to play it, but I've got that side circled.
Yeah, I got circled too, and we'll see. I'm going to write it down. UCF, BYU. So Wisconsin. I heard you talking. I think it was Follow the Money with those boys over there. They're going to be laying 4 or 5 to Ohio State. I don't know, man. Mm-hmm. My Badgers this year are really inconsistent too. It's like what's going to show up? How do you score? And I'm pissed because I had a team total on them over 77.5. They scored 17 points in the first half.
I don't know.
17, and they win 67 to you score 50 in the second half. It's like Jesus.
The Gophers are running out of gas. You're right. I was on the Follow the Money show with Mitch and Paul yesterday and talked about I bet Minnesota plus 8.5 overnight. And then I find out, an hour before the game that Cade Tyson, Minnesota's leading scorer at 20 points per game, is scratched. He's not going to play. I didn't know he wasn't going to play. And the line moves up to 10.5. And I thought, well, damn, I'm stuck with a loser. Going to see if I could get out. I couldn't get out of it because Minnesota got out to an 8-3 lead, and Minnesota got the lead. So I said, all right, just let it ride. Minnesota's up 35-17 at halftime, and then the Gophers run out of gas, in the last 10 minutes, and Badgers come back and win the game 67-63. But 35-17 at halftime. Like I said, Whiskey was down at home by 25 points to Purdue, and then a week later they go on the road and beat Michigan as a 15-point dog.
Yeah.
So
unreal. And their shoot lights. It's just momentum team, inconsistent, hard to bet on, hard to fade.
Right.
Hard to fade. Totals over is the only way I can go with this team. SMU at Louisville is going to be interesting. I think that's going to be a massive spread. I think SMU can hang a little bit with Louisville. Louisville's just not looking like they did in the beginning of the season. What else is out there for hodgepodge? Duke, Virginia Tech. I got Virginia Tech as a maybe too. I think this ain't the Duke from last year, and they only have one loss. I think this could be one of those nail biter games for them. Virginia Tech's got a few good wins. I think they're pretty healthy. But I look at Duke, and Boozer is not Flag. He's not Cooper Flag, and they don't have the support that they did. I like Boozer, but he's not. He's better than his dad. I'll tell you that. But Virginia Tech, a couple really nice wins against Virginia. It's ACC though. And you don't love ACC either. Sunday.
Well, the one thing I say about Duke is I had a bunch of Duke futures last year, and I could not believe they blew that lead to Houston in the final 2 minutes. And I said, with Cooper Flag and all that talent around him, how did that team not win it last season? How did that team blow that game against Houston? And this Duke team is not as talented, and I don't have any futures on Duke at all this year. I know a lot of people love Duke, but I don't. I'm not that high on this Blue Devils team. If that Cooper Flag team couldn't win it, this team's not as good. Like you said, you just said it.
Yeah, and Tech's going to be a 8-point dog. 7.5. They're going to be ready to. This is their big game here. Sunday, you got to talk about Illinois, Nebraska, man. Now, the problem with Nebraska is they got 2 guys that might be out, and boy, like we already talked about the Michigan game that they had, but I saw the ankle sprain on the freshman there, Frager. That was a nasty little roll. I'm glad he's going to come back. I just don't see him. I think it was a higher ankle sprain. I don't think he's going to be back for another week. But what the hell's happened to Rank Masked? I don't know what happened to Rank Masked. And I think he's kind of needed against Illinois here. Illinois looking for road revenge. I'll tell you this. I like the road revenge spot with Illinois here. I know they're coming off the Purdue win, but that's not as much of a letdown when your name's Illinois and you're the number 4 in Ken Pom and all that. I would probably look to Illinois on this one, even though, Nebraska might be a favorite.
I'm going to look at Illinois here too, and I would think Braden Frager is going to be back and Rink Mast is going to play. I believe he was sick.
Is that
Right? Didn't he get sick before the Michigan game? And that's why Nebraska was without two of its top three scorers in the game at Michigan, and probably should have won the game. Like you said, that foul call I thought was a charge. The no call should have been a foul on the baseline on a charge. And besides Nebraska, I thought outplayed Michigan for most of that game without two of its top three scorers. Really impressive.
Yeah.
And you're hearing a lot of people say that, Nebraska was more impressive in that loss than it was in any of its other wins. I don't know about that. Cornhuskers got some pretty good wins. But I like the revenge angle, especially when the favorite lost the first time. And Illinois, I believe, was 10 or 11-point favorite at home the first time when the Cornhuskers shot them down in Champaign. And I think the Fighting Illini are going to be fired up for this one.
Yeah.
It could be a spot to bet the Illini. But what does Kim Palm project a number? I've actually got Illinois -1. What do you have?
Ken Palm has it Illinois +2.
Really? Okay.
I believe. Yeah, we got to get by this. First, they got to get by Washington tonight at home, which a lot of people are betting Washington. I disagree with that.
Well, it could be a look-ahead spot, right? It could be a look-ahead spot.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's a sandwich, I guess, between Purdue, but it's just one of those. First half is what I said. I said be careful. If you want to bet Washington, I would rather go first half, is what I said. Right. It has 2, and Bart Torvik has Nebraska -2.7. So Illinois has been a little inconsistent.
Sure,
but this is a massive game for them. I'm on Illinois too, most likely. You know what? A team that really pissed me off last weekend was Alabama. Had a decent.
Oh, you know what? Alabama was almost gonna be my sell high for you, but we've already sold Alabama a long time ago, right? So it's kind of like the time has passed for that. I think we've all seen through the Crimson Tide now, and that's not the team we thought it was going to be.
They've been so injured, and 2 starters were announced out before the game because they got hurt in practice. Like, they get hurt in practice. Why? Wish there was a rule that they had to say it, because it was like 2 starters were announced out. It's like, come on, guys. And yeah, of course Tennessee's going to beat them. Then I couldn't get out of it. I was in a Polish middle situation, so I could not get out of it, man. Well, let's get to quickly the Super Bowl, man. I went through some bets already yesterday. Do you have anything quick that you made early?
So I got just 2 prop bets. I was at the Westgate Superbook last night when the props were opened, and had a bigger crowd than they've had in past years. A lot of sharp bettors over there last night. It was a pretty good scene. I played Sam Darnold over 29.5 passing attempts. And I played Kenneth Walker under 73.5 rushing yards. The one thing I'll say is the New England defense has been really strong against the run. In 3 playoff games, Pats have allowed 79, 48, and 87 yards on the ground. And the Rams did a really good job against Kenneth Walker. Last week, he had 3.3 yards a carry and didn't get much accomplished on the ground. And this is a better New England defensive front 7. And like I said, they've been solid against the run. I think Mike Vrabel's game plan here is going to be let's just shut down the run and make Sam Darnold beat us. And if Sam Darnold's got to put the ball in the air a lot, chances are he's going to make a big mistake or 2. And I think that's going to be Vrabel's game plan. And, hey, I know a lot of people want to portray Darnold as a conquering hero right now. And it's a redemption story, and I understand that. But, hey, this quarterback also led the NFL in turnovers in the regular season with 20. All right? It was just over a month ago that the Seahawks beat the Colts 18-16 in Seattle, and with Phillip Rivers, their quarterback. So I think I'm not saying that I'm looking to fade the Seahawks, but I think that Mike Vrabel's going to look at this and say, hey, let's make Sam Darnold beat us on the biggest stage of his career. So I'm going to go over his passing attempts and under Kenneth Walker's rushing yards. I'm leaning towards taking the underdog in the points, but I have not bet the side or a total yet.
I agree. Both teams great against the run. Seattle also good against the pass, but the Patriots is where you attack them is the pass, but that's why they're going to throw the ball. I do think you should play a lot of great quarterbacks, like stack the box, stop the run, get after the quarterback, and if he beats you on your one-on-ones and you're that you got to tip your hat to him type thing. I've always been like that, especially when they play Brady. So I think that's a great defense for Vrabel to call, and I think he will. So I agree with that. I'm waiting for that number to get up a little bit, though. I think more people's going to bet on that, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I made quite a few prop bets myself, and I always like first score field goal. I bet both teams plus 330, plus 370. Split your bet.
Right.
It hits a lot because their nerves. The Super Bowl now all the talk about field goals, but it kind of goes with my first half under that I used to bet all the time. I like the first quarter. Sure. The first quarter under 8.5, and FanDuel Sports was 8.5, and that was this morning, I think. Yeah, and it was 8.5. I took a little first quarter under at 8.5. Sure. I also like Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions. I think this is going to be a Hunter Henry game because of those great cornerbacks, and Witherspoon's going to shut down Diggs. Mm-hmm. So I like Henry over 3.5. I did take a long shot. I probably could use this as a beer bet banger, but I have another one for you. So here, my long shot is you see these fun bets made by FanDuel, DraftKings, and stuff, and I think not everyone's right. Of course, most of them are bad bets, but one's called Booty Call. All right, and I like the name Keyshawn Booty. But I also like the 15-1 for a 40-yard touchdown. It's a 40-plus yard touchdown, right? Well, Booty is the guy they throw to kind of deep anyway. They went, if you saw last game, they did throw a deep one. He just missed it, or snowy, whatever. Right. And I think Witherspoon's going to be blanketed over Diggs. I really see a chance of either catching a deep one or running after the catch for one. And it's 15-1. Now, most likely I lose this bet, of course, but out of 15 chances, I think you hit it. I think you hit 1 out of 10 even. That he has a long touchdown. That's what he does. I'm going with Booty Call, man. It was on DraftKings, so why not?
I like it. That's good.
It's a great name too. Beer bet banger time. I got a fun one for you. Do you have a beer bet banger for us?
What's the definition of your beer bet banger, by the way?
Sure. It is any plus money bet. And, I guess I lean towards the larger odds. Like if you like a big dog this weekend, like maybe you do like Virginia Tech to win outright, right? But first of all, it can be any plus money. It's beer money bet that you make every week. It doesn't have to be necessarily sharp. But, this is a betting show. And, there's value in some of this stuff. We have... we did have then the Heisman Trophy winner at 14-1 on a beer bet banger, right? So there's still, it doesn't mean there's not value, but that's my definition. I can go first if you want to.
I've got a bunch of beer bet bangers in golf this weekend. Jason Day, 33-1 to win the Farmers Insurance Open. All I'm watching right now as you and I were talking, and he's going to tap in a birdie here to go 4 under. So I feel like got a good shot with Day over the weekend. I'll let you go first while I think of one for hoops.
Sure, dude. And it doesn't even have to be hoops. So I'll write down Jason Day. Like it's probably still a good number. I'm going with the John Wooden Award. And I just kind of like gave you a tell about that I'm not into Boozer as much. Are they really going to give the John Wooden Award to the same team 2 years in a row? I think it would take a lot.
Oh, it's Duke. Come on, it's Duke. Of course.
I don't care who they are.
He loves Duke. Dickie V's going to hype him up. I mean,
the Dukies, right?
You know what? There's so much money behind Duke basketball. It's sick. It's been that way for a long time, and so many media members love to promote Duke, and ESPN loves to promote Duke. ESPN's going to be pushing it. So,
well, they have to save face at some point. Even the NFL didn't favor the Chiefs this year. I feel like at some point they got to. I'm going JT Toppin at 17-1. Actually, I'm sorry. I bet it today, and it went to 14-1 after I bet it. But it is still good, in my opinion, at FanDuel at 14-1. JT Toppin's the other guy getting talked about a lot, and he's not a freshman. He's kind of looks the part that he's been there and paid his dues type situation, and he's really the lifeblood of this Texas Tech team, which I think can make a run in the NCAA tournament. I just think the number was wrong. So my beer bet banger is JT Toppin 14-1 to make the John Wooden Award.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to combine something we talked about early in the show. That was St. John's, right? We were talking about the Johnnies at 90-1. How about St. John's 22-1 to make the Final Four?
There you go.
And I'm going to give you. Let's split a unit on these two futures, since you're not playing multiple units on this.
Mm-hmm.
To win the national championship, I'm looking at the circuit numbers right now. UConn 15-1 and Iowa State 17-1. I think those odds have drifted up a little bit, and I believe in Danny Hurley. I think he's tough. If you force me to pick one, I'd say UConn 15-1. That team is such a tough out, Kevin. I mean, you think about last NCAA tournament, Florida ends up winning it. UConn had the Gators on the ropes in the second round. That was a mediocre Florida team. Danny Hurley coaches his ass off in the tournament, and he's going to be a tough out no matter what. All right, if I got to pick one, I'll say UConn 15-1. Put me down for that.
Like
Throw out the Iowa State.
No, screw that. I like them both because I did take Iowa State at a worse number 2 months ago. So there you go. I mean, why not? No, I'm with you. The problem with UConn right now is they're going up because they've kind of been playing with their food a little bit. They're getting close,
sure.
but it's a flat time of the season. It's like this is the time you kind of go against those big ones, and they regroup when March happens, and they show you who they really are. And I agree, you go coach. I like betting coaches like you just did, so that makes total sense to me. No, great stuff, man. Hopefully these babies hit. Matt, you're the best. Where could our listeners and viewers follow you and get you great information?
I tell you what, you can watch VSIN on YouTube TV. We've got a channel on there every night. It's like 24/7 sports betting content. VSIN.com, VSIN.com. And I'm on VSIN Primetime and a bunch of other shows every night. It's always great to be on with you. And best of luck this weekend. Let's get some winners.
Thanks again, Matt.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, now it's time to talk a little UFC 325. A lot of fights in this card, and it's going to be an exciting one because a nice little rematch here between Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. And this is in Sydney, Australia. Kind of a home fight for Volk, being from Australia. A ton of Australian people. As you can probably imagine, New Zealand is also considered, close enough. Both countries in their summer, as they are past the southern hemisphere. But anyways, should be a great event. And wanted to go over, obviously, the main event and some plays that we're going to make. Starting with the main event, Alexander Volkanovski against Diego Lopez. This is an interesting fight as they fought once before, and Volk kind of beat him pretty well. Out-tagged him, beat him in a decision. Lopez kind of looked lost out there. He didn't really look himself, and this is a featherweight fight at 145. The weird thing is that I did bet Diego Lopez last time and lost, and now he's the dog here at plus 125. The number was better when I bet it earlier this week, but I still think maybe the wrong man's favored. Volk is 37 years old and Diego Lopez is 31, so you got a good 6 years of age discrepancy. Volk is the better striker. He lands 6.18 significant strikes to Diego at 4.1. Both guys can take you down, but Lopez is the better grappler, being from Brazil. And, I just figured that he went through a gauntlet with Jean Silva and ended up giving him a spinning elbow, knocked him out. Now, was that luck? Maybe. I kind of thought Jean was winning the fight, but he still did it. Volk absorbs less. He's got better defense, 3.36 absorbed, significant strikes to 4.72. You wonder if Lopez can keep him on the ground and wrestle him a little bit. You saw Islam Makhachev and Ilya Topuria have a lot of success against Volk, and if Volk has to guard both the punches and the takedowns, then it's a difference. But Diego really did not do that his last outing against Volkanovski. As a matter of fact, he didn't attempt any, So I'm like, what the hell happened there? I figured when Volkanovski fought Ilya and Islam, he would have kind of learned from that the way to beat Volk, to be aggressive in both phases of the game, But it didn't happen. I think he was a little nervous. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not going to give him down every time. But him knowing that he has to defend it gives Diego a very good advantage on his feet. So I expect a different strategy here. I don't necessarily think he can take Volk out, but he's going to have to be a more rounded fighter in this, and I think he will. So I'm taking the dog here. I'm taking Diego, the younger fighter, the hungrier fighter, to get the championship against Volk. And that's a tough one to do because it's not like you're getting that big a plus money to do so. And Volk has maybe, since Ilya hasn't fought there that long, the best featherweight in history. I'd still say Volk is the best featherweight in history, but we'll take at 125 here on the dog. Next fight, and man, like I said, this is a rocking card. You have Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint Denis, and this is a massive line because Dan Hooker is like plus 290. That's a pretty big number here in a fight with Dan Hooker's experience, and Dan Hooker is from New Zealand, right? It's plus 285 here at Bet Online right now. I'm looking at. And I like Saint Denis, and he has bounced back well from a couple losses that he took a while back to Renato Carneiro and Dustin Poirier in 2024. But he fought Ruffy, who's fighting in this card, who got face cranked, who now trains in Australia. He did beat Beneil Dariush, who I can never figure out. 16-second fight. You can't take anything from that. I can't take any stats from that, but he just smacked him and knocked him out. I guess that's a good thing. But Dan Hooker is going to fight for your money. And Dan Hooker beat Mateusz Gamrot. And he did that in 2024 of August. And now he lost to Arman Sarukin, who is an amazing wrestler and got choked out. But I'm not sure that same thing's going to happen against Benoit Saint Denis, who can wrestle, obviously, very well. He is from France. But he also does some stupid things and can get caught up. It's not like Dan Hooker hasn't won against some grapplers in the past. So, as a parlay piece, it's just too long. Benoit probably gets it done. But, man, plus 285, plus 290 is a very tempting number in this situation, especially because you got the home fighter here in Dan Hooker from New Zealand. Next fight is Rafael Fiziev against Marcio Ruffi. Marcio Ruffi was with the Fighting Nerds, but he's been training in Australia, and I think he might have left the Fighting Nerds. It just feels like I don't know what's going on with him completely. He was running through the UFC nicely, beats James Lyontop, which kind of a medium win. Beat Malarkey, who's on this card, of course, and knocked him out. And then he's fighting. He beat Bobby Green, and then he lost to Benoit Saint Denis, getting his face cranked. I do like Ruffy. I don't know about his whole situation with the Fighting Nerds, but Fiziev is still in his prime at 32 years old. It's not like he's aged out of this thing. He had a bad little run against Justin Gaethje, Gamrot, where he injured his knee, actually. And then another Justin Gaethje loss, where Justin Gaethje's awesome, obviously. You saw what Justin Gaethje did last week to Patty, although he did a lot with his fingers and the eyes, but he just beat Ignacio Bahamondes. Yeah, I mean, the line at plus 100 isn't like make me want to go jump at it because Fiziev is undersized at 5'8", even though this is a lightweight fight. It just feels like Marcio Ruffi, the taller man and the one with more length, should be able to keep up with Fiziev. But I'm going to watch this number, and if this number gets any better in the plus range, I could see myself biting a little bit on Fiziev here. Ruffy 5'11", Fiziev 5'8", 75-inch reach to 71. But Fiziev's a crafty dude, and he does win the significant strike battle, usually 4.77 to 3.84. I'm going to keep my eye on Fiziev. I think this should be minus 110 apiece. That's all I have to say about that. Tai Tuivasa versus Talshin Teixeira. Massive line again, massive number. For some reason, ESPN is not, putting these numbers up anymore, which is kind of weird to me. I have to keep refreshing these lines. But Tai Tuivasa is involved in some other stuff. He does some sort of rugby, I believe. And, Talshin Teixeira is an absolute beast. I mean, he just got clocked in his last match, but that was against Derek Lewis. And anybody can get knocked out against Derek Lewis if you're stupid. Well, he made a stupid move, but he did beat Justin Tafa pretty well. He beat Arthur Lopez. I just don't know where Tai is. I don't know how good he's going to be. He's in a 5-fight losing streak, but these are against guys like Cyril Gane, where he was fighting well. Sergey Pavlovich, that's totally normal. Alexander Volkov, Mashin Taibura, and Georgino Rosenstruck, which was a split decision. I don't know. I believe that this number's also where I can't bet it, because when you're betting heavyweights past the minus 300 range, it's kind of like you're throwing away money, because heavyweights just take one big punch, and I don't know where Tai is. I really don't have a ton of belief in Talshin Teixeira either, because although he beat Justin Tafa, I wouldn't call that exactly a great win either. So I lean to Tai Tuivasa, but I think his mind might be distracted out of the UFC. Here's one that's interesting. Quillan Sakild against Jamie Malarkey, and I probably just destroyed his name. Both from Australia, and Quillan is a massive favorite. It's almost to the point where, what have you done, Quinlan? Well, I guess it's more about what Malarkey's done, getting his ass constantly knocked out. The dude just cannot stand there for long. And his chin's been compromised a lot. And I just see really not too many paths to victory for him. But what I will say is that I think he's going to be a little bit more durable in this situation. This is a home fight for both guys. I don't think he's going to want to leave the ring as fast as he left in the past. Plus 675 is a little bit too long. Don't get me wrong. Quillan is throwing 5.9 significant strikes to 4.2 for Malarkey, and Quillan can definitely take you down. But it's not like Quillan is finishing all his fights either. Just 2 fights ago, he went the distance with Yanal Ashmaus, and 2 fights before that with Gage Young and Dana White's Contender Series. He took Nasrat Haqparast out with a leg kick. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Haqparast, he good fighter, not a great fighter type thing. That's going to happen. But I just think that Malarkey is going to know his weaknesses now that he's been around for such a long time. 31 years old, 18 wins, 8 losses. And his losses weren't too bad of fighters. He also has decent wins against Michael Johnson, Francisco Prado, Devontae Smith. Remember, he went and fought. Kama Worthy. Lost to Jalen Turner in the second round. I just need him to get past 1.5 rounds, because you're looking at plus 130 here. So that's my other play I'm going to be giving you, is the over in this fight. I don't think that Quillan is going to go for it right away. I think he's going to be a little bit careful. He's going to also have some respect for Jamie Malarkey. So I just don't necessarily see this fight going past. And by the way, they're both from Australia. They've seen each other before. This is not something crazy here. I like the over, and I like the over pretty well. Plus 130 for 1 star.
Kick his ass, Seabass!
All right. Well, that's what we have. I went through the main card here for you. There's a lot more fights I still have yet to dive in myself and break down, and I'm excited to do that and make some more plays for premium subscribers. My friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. I hope you enjoy all the fights this weekend. I hope you enjoy all the college basketball games. And go get some winners.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.